Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have a lot more fun. Focus on the fun part. My guest today is Darsh Sidhu Jawart. I hope I got it right from Highspire. So, Darsh, what do you do at Highspire?
I am the director of coaching and development. So I have the privilege of working with our executive business coaches in the company that
Okay.
work with our
So,
clients.
explain what Highspire does and who it does it for.
Absolutely. So Highspire, it's quite simple, and we love making things simple. So really, our purpose is to build wealth. And how do we do that? We take our clients who are typically general contractors, but can be from various different niches in construction. The key is revenue, on the higher revenue producing side. And we help create self-managed companies so that ultimately they can move into becoming vertically integrated developers. Because our goal is to help our clients, like we said, build wealth. And by doing that, it's not working for other people and then getting to
Now,
the end
if
of
one
the life
person
cycle
says,
of your company.
I always tell my clients, if you can't leave for 2 months, you own a job, you don't own a business.
100%.
And a lot of contractors end up and then just a higher level of survival for years, right? The revenue goes from 2 to 10 million. Their income goes from maybe 100,000 to 300,000, but they're still broke.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
And there's a perceived value that's there, but and there's this misconception that I'm going to leave my company or I'm going to sell my company, especially now with everything that's going on about selling companies, but really if you're the attached value to the company and then you're no longer there, the company's not really worth that much.
right. I mean, I always tell contractors, most case a construction company is sort of worthless. Now, private equity is changing a little bit because there's millions of dollars of, private equity that got sort of chased out of the AI space, like, anything that AI can replace, and it can't
Yeah.
replace a plumbing company. So now the market is positive, it's saturated with a bunch of private equity that are trying to buy companies. But when they try to buy a company, what do they look for?
Well, they look for value. But if you don't even have your financial controls in place and you're not confident with them, you're not even in a good position to provide your own value. And if you're leaving it up to the people who are buying you, they're going to undercut you. So even looking at it from that lens as well, and being able to conduct your own audit of your business before you put yourself in the marketplace is critical as well. So these are things that we talk a lot about with our clients, and we gap them in their systems and processes and
Now,
financial
what does
control.
gap then mean? Can you explain that?
We identify the gaps and we fill them,
Okay,
right?
so what
And
is a gap? What is a gap in a construction company?
for example, if you're not tracking your gross profit per week, which is one of our key KPIs. When I coach, I always talk about like the five crown jewels of KPIs, right? So you have sales, you have produced revenue, gross profit, net profit, and gross profit per week when you're a large average job size, long life cycle company like custom home builders or large projects. And those are if you're not tracking those, or you think you are, and you're not entirely sure if the data is correct, those are huge gaps that we need to fill.
Okay, no, when I was coach, I used to make a comment that, PepsiCo can tell you what every Taco Bell makes every 4 hours. Costco can tell you how many people in the store at any given time. And lawn contractors don't know how much money they made until the end of the year, which is crazy, right? They just don't track it.
It is crazy. And what's even crazier is sometimes they get to the end of the year and they're waiting for someone else to tell them. And even that person, because if you're waiting for your accountant to tell you, don't forget that your accountant, you're the one giving your information to the accountant. So
Right.
if you're not even confident in that, how can you be confident in what they're telling you? There's no way to audit your own processes.
So in a well-run company, you should know how much money you're making and losing every week. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And really, if you're job costing correctly every day,
Right.
even if you are a subcontractor based home builder and you have some internal labor and you've got your site supers, and you should know on a daily basis how much you're making if you
Right.
don't have
Because
proper burden
you
costs.
can't fix it if you don't know, what's wrong, right?
Absolutely. And I think the problem is that when we talk about all of this, business owners get very overwhelmed. And what we do in Highspire and what I feel like we're uniquely good at is we focus on simplifying it. you can get this whirlwind of information and all these things you're going, oh my gosh, I thought I was doing such a good job. Apparently, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to actually make your life easier and simplify it because we're more consultative. We're not here to ask you a bunch of questions. We're here to find what needs to get done. We're here to make you more efficient, and that ultimately means making you more profitable.
So if you don't have a weekly dashboard that you can literally know how much you're making, the answer to those, how much you're making, where you're losing it, it's really difficult to make decisions, right? Because your decisions are only as good as your information.
Oh, data is key. And the other really good, I'm glad you brought that up, is it's do you have 10 sources of data or do you have one source of truth? Do you have a CRM that is implemented and your entire team is on it? And if you don't have one like verified quality, robust source of truth for your data, you really can't rely on anything. And the beautiful thing about that is there's so many options, right? Like
Right.
we
Well,
have a lot of partners.
what's interesting is that the software has gotten better and better and better
Yeah.
as technology keeps increasing. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, most contractors haven't gotten better with it, if you know what I mean. They're
Yeah, because it's intimidating, and you have people at various points in their careers, and you have I can think of a lot of clients that I've worked with that are master builders. They're amazing, but they're getting older. They need to get off the tools, and they find all of this really intimidating. So bringing in a company like Highspire, we're able to help you create that change management. Work with amazing recruiters to bring the right people in that maybe can fill in where you're weaker, and also making it clear that you need to hire people that are smarter than you. Like
right.
that's the key.
So how does, in my years of coaching, the most difficult thing I ever had, and maybe you can tell me is how do you take a craftsperson and convert them into an entrepreneur? It's a different skill set entirely.
Absolutely.
So how do you take a person? I mean, I use this example, but it always stuck with me. I was meeting with a client. I was doing projections. I was doing marketing. I was trying to look on, whatever procedures, that kind of thing. And I said, "You do not value what I'm doing." He goes, "Of course I value. I took off work to do this." They had no clue, right? I mean,
Yeah.
to them, unless they were out swinging a hammer, they weren't working.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what's even further to that is a lot of contractors they're not even charging for their own time. So if you talk about proper job costing, they don't factor in their own time at their proper rate. So
Right.
it's even worse than that.
And
And so
sometimes, like you're paying yourself, pick your number, 100, 125 an hour, right?
yeah,
And you're doing filing. I go, how smart is that?
it's
Right?
not.
So how does Highspire help individuals make that personal transition from a craftsperson to an entrepreneur? That's tough. How do you do that?
Well, we're uniquely qualified to do that because we're like a boutique firm. And we're a coaching company, but in my opinion, we're highly consultative. So our coaches are very good at poking holes in things. They're very good at finding those opportunities. And we have excellent resources. We have very good module material, resource material to actually dive in deep enough to create understanding. One thing I've learned a lot, having done this for a number of years, is people don't do things unless they understand why they're doing them.
Right.
And so you don't need to get into the weeds. We're not getting a PhD here, but we just need to create that basic understanding that if you understand why you're doing this, it automatically becomes more important to you. So that's kind of the test that we pass for ourselves is have we provided enough uh, base knowledge and understanding of what you need to do to move out of the business and keep it profitable or make it more profitable.
Right. Well,
That's kind of where we're at. And so once we do that, then we just start plugging in the systems, the resources, but also testing it along the way. We're not a company that's going to say, do everything at once. Here's 6 steps that you need to follow. Go figure it out. Because sometimes they have 4 of the 6 steps. Maybe they're not doing 3 of them
well,
really well.
how do you get them to change your behavior? Is it the why? I mean, most contractors,
Oh, it's a
I
great
used to
question.
have an exercise. I go, give me five. I remember this exercise. I said, give me 5 things you're doing to sabotage your business. And he gave me 4, and the last ones I never finish anything. So
Yeah.
like, how do you get these contractors to change their behavior to an entrepreneur understanding big picture, understand building to sell versus just building to survive? how do you help them make that emotional transition?
It's to me, it's very simple. It's KPI based. If you've been doing this long enough and you know on average this is how much of produced revenue that you should be achieving every year, and you
Hmm.
see slippage on that, and it's not due to a huge market shift that you have no control over. If you are not hitting your own KPIs, it becomes very self-evident. And as coaches, we take a very direct approach. We're not here to, we'll do a little bit of hand holding, but ultimately our job is to remain very the objective party in your life. And to tell you if you're not hitting your KPIs, more importantly, if your team is not hitting your KPIs, you have a huge problem. And mostly it comes down to accountability. Right there, like
Well,
I said, there's certain
how do you help them develop, just in case people don't know KPIs or key performance indicators,
sorry,
how do
yeah.
you help contractors develop those KPIs for their employees and themselves that make some kind of sense that they believe in and they actually track?
Yeah, it's very simple. Basically, you need to make sure, first, as an owner, you need to test yourself. Have I set my team up for success? Or have I brought someone in and thought, like, you should know how to do your job? I told you what to do, go do it. Or do you have a very comprehensive, clear employment agreement that you've taken the time and thoughtfulness to figure out that this is what this role needs to accomplish? Not the person, the role. You've clearly defined what those deliverables are. What does this role need to deliver to my company? And then what is that roadmap to achieving each deliverable? And what is that KPI? And quite frankly, it's like I said, it's those five crown jewels. Everything is attached to those.
Well, most contractors, no offense, don't even understand what KPIs are as a group. The smaller, bigger ones, yeah. If you're doing like 30, 40 million. But
Yeah.
if you're doing 5 or 10 million, the chances are you do not have KPIs for everybody on your team, not even sure what those are. And then, unfortunately, most contractors develop people organically. Like they put them in what they're good at, not what they need to do. Does that make any sense? So,
Oh,
you know,
100%.
you have a guy who is really good at supervising subcontractors, and
Yeah.
he's supposed to be a project manager and looking at job costing, but then, oh well, he's so good at supervising contractors, I'm not going to hold him accountable for job costing. And I go, dude, that doesn't work, right?
No, it's not about the person, it's about the role. And the role then enhances the person you put in it, because then you're actually hiring the right person for the right role. And so why it's simple is because if you've taken the time as the owner to say, this is the machine I need to build, and here are the seats in that machine that need to be filled, and what each one needs to accomplish. There's very simple key performance indicators attached to those. The next level of that is how do I hold accountability to it? Right? I'm sure you've heard it a million times. I know I've heard it a million times that, well, we've told them what to do, but they're not doing it. I don't understand why it's not clear to them. You have to hold accountability at all levels of your organization. And if you're
Now,
not holding accountability, mostly on a weekly basis, we have a system for that. We call them management summary reports. They're KPI driven, and they're directly sourced from your employment agreement, which means that you as the owner and your team member have agreed that this is what they're going to deliver in your company. And now every week,
and you can
you
actually measure that because my experience of doing this many years, a lot of contractors are really not good at building companies, and what they end up doing is they do okay in real estate because it's sort of real estate's a no-brainer, at least over the last 20 years, right? So they take
well, it
some of their
depends on where
money.
you are.
I
It
guess
depends on
that's
what
true.
market you're in. Yeah,
They put their, they buy some houses, they do build real estate. And then when it comes to shutting down, they just close their business down because they've never built worth and net worth in the business. They've just built it in real
exactly.
estate. And their business is worthless because they did not build to sell, they built to survive. So, and you can help them actually build wealth. I understand that's part of a basic thing, right?
Well, building wealth, but I think the question you asked earlier on was how do you create that understanding from like a contractor or a trade and saying, okay, how are you going to understand that this is what you need to do? And again, it comes back to those key performance indicators. You have to assign a metric. We can't measure what we don't track. And
Right.
so just keeping it basic and saying, for you to survive, for your company to survive, this is how much
Mhm.
produced revenue you need to have. For you to produce that much revenue means you need to sell this much. And they're typically two completely different amounts.
Right. So tell me a little bit, who's your ideal client and how do they get in touch with you?
Ideal client is, we speak very specifically to general contractors, but we have other companies in the program that have, they're higher revenue producing. So if you're a 2 million to $10 million company and you've got a decent net profit, or you're looking to increase your net profit, that's a great ideal client for us. We also work with very large companies that are very focused on development, and they're coming in and we're working with our coaches to really tighten up the systems they have and have a clear focus to becoming self-managed, because you as the owner or CEO really want to turn your focus to development, building your own portfolio. And
Okay.
that is truly our ideal client.
Now, rumor
Sorry.
has it that you can, if people are a builder and they want to move into development, you can help them with that transition?
Absolutely. We have, so a big part, we spent a lot of time talking about the systems and the coaching and the tools that we have, and figuring out what we need to do with each client on a case per case basis based on
Mhm.
what we've created. The next set of that is getting into the development. So we have a lot of resources. We've created custom performas for getting into different asset classes of real estate. And as coaches, we all will be right in it with you. We'll be right in the weeds with you, running deals, running them through our performas, underwriting them, validating them, really holding our clients' feet to the fire around the assumptions that they make, to protect them. Going through the due diligence process as well. So that's where our program is very much full circle, right? Like the way I like to describe it is we've actually created an ecosystem in what we create in Highspire. Is we're working to build a healthy company that you as the owner can leave confidently to continue to run for cash flow, to go build and work on your real estate and your developments, and
So
ultimately
basically,
those will balance each other.
so you can even, and not that you do personally, but you can help connect them with people that once they built their company, that help them fund real estate and that kind of thing. It's not any major purpose, but most coaching companies don't have a clue on how to do that. So
No,
if
no, exactly, exactly. We will work with them, and we'll also work with them. I would say one of the great things that we've learned a lot about ourselves as we've been doing this is diving into, how to just basically read your financial statements and getting so clear on what your financial statements need to say, so that if we're helping you go and look for funding and financing for a deal, that's one thing. But if you actually have a great relationship with your bankers, with investors, that we can actually help you present yourself in the best light,
right.
because you actually understand your
I would
numbers.
say now is good timing because there's more private equity available than ever because of AI. Has sort of eliminated a lot of, if you're selling information for money, you're sort of out of business in 10 years.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so if you're doing real things with real property, whether it's real estate or you're going to still be here. So there's tons of private equity, billions of dollars literally. So Darsh, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do it?
They can go to our website,
Okay.
highspirecoachingandcapital.com, I think is what
Okay.
it is.
Very
And
cool.
just book a call with Courtney.
Okay, cool. And then they can go through and find if it makes sense, if there's a good match or not, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, Darsh, thanks for being here. And I think if two things, if you're ever considering developing real estate, or you don't know how much you made or lost every week or possibly every day, you should probably give Darsh a call because you need help.
Absolutely. Waiting for your call.
Okay, thanks, Darsh. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks so much.